Um, Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to the second brainstorming session. We are data technologists and we'll be looking at fixed metallic prosthetics. We want to look at the workflow. We are all familiar with the processes of fabrication of metallic prosthetics. And we are thinking about fixed prosthetics. So we want to see all the different stages that are involved. We want to use this session to share experiences. What are your experiences with techniques, with materials? Probably the experience you may have with other dental professional. Any experience you have had, here is an opportunity for us to share it together and talk about it. So the ball is out for you to kick as you wish. Speak about your experience. We begin with all the precautions that needed to be taken to ensure that impression taken, when we cast our impression, that is very proper. What are the steps? What are the things that we needed to do to ensure that our casting, our clients do not fail or meet all the expectations of our patient or the clinician?
All right. Good evening, sir. Good evening, everybody. My name is Emihe Dennis, and I'm a dental technologist in Nigeria. I think I would like to start by saying that we first of all need to cast the impression with the right type of stone, given the kind of precision we are going to be needing for the job. So I think that casting should first of all start with densite material, and of course the impression should be a rubber-based impression, to be able to record some fine details that we are going to be needing for the job. So I think first of all the first thing that should be done should be the casting impression with the right material.
Okay, I think you've spoken well, Mr. Dennis. If I may add to that, there are several other things that I believe should be taken into consideration and, of course, to cognizance in the workflow of metallic prostheses in the laboratory. Like thereafter, impression has been taken. Of course, every dental appliance begins with a impression coming into the laboratory. Thereafter, the impression comes into the laboratory and you pick the specific stone to be used, gypsum product to be used to cast your impression. You, of course, make your markings and then know what exactly you want to do. You outline your model and then the likes. I want to believe there are some other things that are much more technical than that, like briefing of the metallic framework. Thereafter, you cast it. So there are so much to this topic. Get started by talking about it from the impression taking and then the casting of the model and of course outlining the structure, the design, of your metallic framework before making a wax pattern that is supposed to be converted into a metallic cast that is supposed to be seated in the patient's mouth. So I think we can get started by looking into questions from Dr. Olubodunsa. Perhaps if there's any other person that has something else to add to that.
No, really, the floor is open. And any observation that anybody could make regarding that stage of the entire workflow, somebody can also still make it. For me, I observed when Emihe said, no, it was Omataya that said we should choose the right model material. We've heard of dye stone. Dye stone is very strong. We know that dye stone is, in event that we want to make dyes, is an important model material that we must select. Otherwise, if we select something that is not as strong as dye stone for a dye, we are likely going to have a very poor job at the end of the day. I don't know if there's anyone who has any contribution again.
I think we should just, I can start by saying that, to be precise, in making metallic prostheses. The most preferable Jameson product to be used tensile for most metallic prostheses because you need that strength during the casting process because the metal is going to be um, conducted into the mold at a very high temperature. So you need something, a gypsum product that is highly refractory that can at least withstand that temperature. And so, of course, thereafter knowing, putting that to cognizance and to reference, that means the type of product to use. You, of course, know that you need to outline your model, design it the way you want it to be in the patient's mind. After the design, you know, to make a wax pattern of whatever you want to fabricate using um, the normal casting wax.
I
I
think
will use wax.
Shizi said something about the handling of impression. Um,
Okay.
maybe Matthias can tell us about how do we handle the impression, because you know that we remember very well that if the posterior border of your impression rests on the face, there could be distortion. We also know that it is also very possible that if you don't rinse your impression with under a running tap, there may be problem. So, what conclusion, Matthias, can you make to that?
Hello, everyone.
Good.
Can you?
We can hear you. Speak on. Speak on.
I didn't get the question. The network here is very bad, sir.
Okay, but we can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. What's the question, sir?
Okay, this is a brainstorming session. We expect you to make contribution to our topic. Our topic is the workflow in the laboratory that is involved in metallic, fixed metallic appliance. The workflow, the processes, and different stages that are involved in making of fixed metallic processes. Now, we have gone past different things. We've talked about the material, die stone, and all that. Now, we wanted you to speak about how to handle the impression itself. And I already said something. I said, handling the impression involves, for example, you don't place the posterior border to touch the bench top. You don't just cast impression without flushing the impression with under a running tap. These are some of the precautions. I don't know whether you can expatiate. Anyway, if there's anybody...
My contribution will be short.
Sure, that's good.
What I can just contribute is that, yes, impression is brought from the clinic. First of all, moderate running tap. The blood stain deposits that may be contained in the impression. Then a mix of stone, especially is cast into the impression, vibrating to ensure there are no
we're having an issue with network. The
there
guy
are no things like
maybe blood stains, thick saliva.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yes.
And after vibrating, not set it. All after that, if it is half state, maybe you need a base for it. So it is a basis for easy working so that it can be manipulated. So far, that is how much I can.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks so much. You have really done well for us. That means that you supported the idea, which is a convention in the laboratory, that you must flush the impression of thick saliva. But in some cases, it's possible that may have been done in the clinic. It's possible that may have been done in the clinic before it is sent to the lab. But in our normal setting, that may not have been done. What can you say about that, Shize?
Are you
here?
Sir?
Yes, what can you say about what we just said now? I'm talking of Shizi, Dennis Shizi, MEA.
Okay. I think he has said most of it, because of course the right procedure has to be taken. The impression has to be, of course, thoroughly investigated and rinsed to avoid cross infection and some other things. But I think as soon as we were able to cast the model, we should be able to make our dies afterwards. Of course, then start our diving, and then for us to be able to comfortably handle the model, the work.
Good evening.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Brian Vika. I want to contribute about the I've been hearing, and I want to contribute to the program.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. For the procedure that we are talking about the taking the impression, we have an immediate action taken on the impression. Immediately the impression goes to the lab. The first thing to do is first to examine. We have to know if the details we can work on, the oral pictures that we are expected to see on the model. If we can see on the correction, then we go ahead to just as other colleagues have said, by removing the stain and all the thick saliva. And again, then during the mixing, we have to take a proper precaution, because in restoration, we have to do away with the bubbles and porosity. We need to vibrate in order to get it. And can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Yes.
I can hear you.
Okay. Then talking about the good material, you have to take the proper mixing technique, which we have the liquid and the powder. We have the quantity of the liquid you are needed and the quantity of the water that you have to mix with, because it all contributes to the final result we are going to get. And also, fixing of, if we are making a dye, we have to, if we are making a dye, there's a procedure of making a dye. We have a single dye. When you want to make a single dye, you have to know how to fix your post in order to get a proper. Hello. Can you hear me?
Go ahead. We can hear you.
Hello.
You can see us. We can hear you. Can you see us?
Okay. So we have to fix in order to get the proper post. We need to. Is there?
Go ahead.
Hello.
We're enjoying you.
Hello.
We are enjoying you. Go ahead.
The network is bad. I don't think you can hear me.
We are hearing you. Go ahead.
Okay. So I said that you have to be cautious and know how to position your post in order to get that out. you have to get it out correctly in order to fix, in order to have a proper construction, the restoration on it. And from there, after getting the cast, because if there is a porosity on the cast, that means the hole there will be filled up with the restoration that will be on it, which will not fit in the patient's mouth. And by then, it will be very difficult for you to drill it out. So you need to be cautious not to have any atom of porosity on it. And hello.
Go ahead.
Okay. So then, after the process, why making the one partner? It is that if it's
okay, Ibrahim, I will stop you here. Let us let's not go far into WAS yet, because you made some valid points, and the valid points which I want us to talk about include one. You said, of course, when the impression arrives, a proficient and experienced dental technologist will have to examine the impression and see that all the areas that were prescribed were well replicated, if the landmarks are there. You also made another very valid point about vibrating the impression, that in order to avoid blowholes in the order that you will take. You indeed mentioned that, look, that we perhaps or we suggest how successful the job will eventually be, because a good model will eventually produce a good job. So these are points that you make that are very impressive. I don't know if any of my colleagues here want to make any other addition to that before we move into outlining and what's pattern.
I think you have said it all, sir. And because there is not much to be said about the arrival of impression, the dexterity on the side of dental technology. The impression we have obtained a very good cast that which we can work with to have a very good result at the end of it. So I think we can proceed to the model and then several other things that are yet to be discussed in the subject of this.
Well, if I might add, I think that some people prefer adding their dye pins during the impression, while others might prefer. So I want to know, is there anyone that has any preference for any of these methods?
I didn't get that question well.
No, in making your dye, some place the dye before casting in the impression. Some cast impression and saw the dye out later. I think I got you right, Dennis. Did I get you right, Dennis?
Exactly.
Okay, you are now asking the preference.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Does anyone have any preference?
Have you any?
Well, from my experience in the course of practice, I don't think there is anyone that is being preferred over the other. But I think the most important thing is that you are careful enough not to.
Very.
Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me? Okay, yeah. The most important thing is that you should be careful enough.
We're hearing.
Okay, I said the most important thing is that you want to be careful not to use any of on the cast, either while sectioning the dye out or trying to go through the process of applying a separating medium and then it like an easily pump up and then you get it conveniently. The most important thing is not to lose natural and chemical fission and achieve a desired.
Okay, I think I have a contribution to make about that.
Not really for now, sir.
Okay, okay. Now, what I want to say is that casting before, putting your die before casting or doing it after casting depends on individual. So my advice is that an individual should pick the best that suits him. If you've not tried an approach, it is not good to jump into it, but rather continue to any approach that you're comfortable with. But in event you want to try others, you be careful doing that. And if possible, you have to do a little practice and be sure that you are proficient in it before you dive into any patient job, so that you don't get your patient disappointed. I think that is very important to note. So I think, what is the next stage now? After
after obtaining your die or your model, whichever one you want to work with, you should design the restoration you want to produce. What you have in mind to produce, or the job description on the card that you have from the clinic, because definitely there's going to be a description from the clinic, either for a metallic framework, metallic to acrylic denture, or porcelain fused to metal, either whatever it is you want to fabricate. You should have a description from the clinic which you are working with. So you design your model or your die based on the description of what you intend to fabricate for the patient in question. So in making a metal cast, of course, we all know there are several designs that can be drawn, of course, based from our experiences. And of course, in making a die, you should know that you're working with the cervical, with making a crown rather from a die. You should know that you're working with the cervical region. So anything you're fabricating on a die in the name of a crown should not go beyond your cervical margin. So all of those things, I think, the next step before the wax pattern is being produced for casting. So.
Okay, I think we cannot we cannot proceed too far with this webinar. Very soon our time will be up, and I know many of you are engaged in different other things. But let me say one thing before we close. Let's talk about the wax. We have different types of waxes. If, for example, you want to do a 3-unit crown, that would be a PFM. The kind of wax that we use. I don't know if anyone has experience about the kind of wax or how you manipulate your wax. Let's talk about that, and then we conclude. Maybe a second session will take place in future. Wax in face.
Okay. In making a PFM, like you said, I think there is need to build your wax pattern for the metallic framework, which the porcelain is going to sit on. And in making your wax pattern for the metallic framework, there are 3 basic wax that you should make use of and are very important. Of course, the dipping wax comes first, then the casting wax, of course, whichever way you call it, casting wax, and then of course the marginal wax to seal up the margins of your metallic framework. So those 3 basic waxes are used in the waxing up of metallic framework for PFM. And of course, there are procedures to that. You can't just start building your wax over the die. There is need for you to apply a die paint, which is going to serve as a kind of spacer. And of course, you apply a separating medium over the die paint before building your wax over it. And of course, you build your wax by starting with a dipping wax, and then of course to your casting wax before the marginal wax, which is going to be used to seal up the margins, that's the cervical margin, such that you can get a very perfect fit on the model, and then the cervical margin is not being compromised. That's the whole essence of that marginal wax. I think that's all I have to say on that.
Okay, Brahim, can you tell us a little about wax? What are your experiences with wax?
Okay, about the wax, like my colleague just said, after you asked about how to manipulate as well. After using the casting wax and the imaginary wax and other wax types, my colleague just said, there's another thing to put in place about how to demarcate the margin, the interdental space. You know, when you separate it, to not look natural. So you have to be mindful of how to make the wax, the interdental space, you know, the shape of the restoration that you are going to build, I mean the porcelain you are going to build on, has to come out from the wax pattern. If from the wax pattern you are getting the shape of what you are going to fix on it. So the margin has to be clearly separated. I mean the interdental space has to come out well, so that when you are building your porcelain, you will not find it difficult to bring out the shape, proper shape that will fix, look natural. That is what I have to contribute here.
Okay, Matthias, do you have any contribution there about what?
Yes, as usual.
Sim will have issue with internet with Matthias Ayagua. Okay, and now granting that we have had all our wax pattern in place, we are satisfied with it. What is the next stage to follow? Now, let us just pick one of the appliances that are possible. That is let's say 3-unit denture.